When Donald Trump commented on Vladimir Putin's recent meetings, few realized the man at the center of it all wasn't a politician. It was a billionaire with power that stretches far beyond Russia's borders. From secret gatherings to silent deals that could shift global influence, this story reveals how one man's fortune bends politics itself. Stay until the end. You'll see why Trump's reaction wasn't just about money, but control. The billionaire Putin can't control. In Russia's world of wealth and politics, few men can move without permission from the Kremlin. Yet Vladimir Potanin is one of them. With an estimated fortune of $24 billion, he sits at the intersection of money, influence, and quiet defiance. An oligarch so powerful that even Vladimir Putin is careful not to test him. Potanin isn't just rich, he's indispensable. His company, Norilsk Nickel, produces nearly half of the world's nickel and palladium, metals essential to everything from electric vehicles to fighter jets. Without his production lines in Siberia, global industries would stall, and Russia's export economy would shrink overnight. That leverage, born not from politics but from production, makes Potanin untouchable in a way no speech or security guard could. He didn't build his empire by accident. Potanin was trained inside the Soviet banking system, learning how to move capital quietly and efficiently when the country itself was collapsing. By the time the Soviet Union dissolved in the 1990s, he had already designed a financial strategy that would outlive governments. Through a program known as loans for shares, he acquired Norilsk Nickel for a fraction of its value, roughly $170 million for a company that would soon be worth tens of billions. Decades later, he controls one of the most profitable metal conglomerates on Earth, with annual revenues exceeding $20 billion. But Potanin's true power doesn't rest in Moscow's skyscrapers or balance sheets. It floats. His collection of super yachts forms a maritime fortress of wealth, mobility, and independence. Each vessel is a statement of sovereignty, operating far beyond the reach of any government. His flagship, the super yacht Nana, measures 88.5 meters and is valued at nearly $300 million. It's a moving city of glass and steel. 6 decks, a panoramic elevator, an onboard aquarium, a plunge pool, and even a helipad capable of accommodating long-range helicopters. Its crew of 24 ensures the ship is operational anywhere from Monaco to the Maldives. The yacht isn't just luxury, it's logistics. In international waters, Nana serves as a mobile office, a floating base of operations immune to domestic interference. But Potanin never believes in relying on one asset, no matter how grand. His second vessel, the super yacht Barbara, is nearly identical in scale, 89 meters long and worth around 165 million euros. Barbara is designed as redundancy, a backup command center equipped with advanced navigation systems and a full medical suite. During times of heightened geopolitical tension, his 2 vessels have been tracked moving in opposite directions, ensuring Potanin always has one escape route open, no matter what happens in Russia's ports. His third yacht, Anastasia, later renamed Wheels, represents a different kind of power. At 76 meters, it's smaller, but serves a unique purpose. It's often rented for $700,000 per week, generating revenue that rivals corporate returns. It's luxury turned into liquidity, a strategy that lets his assets work for him even when idle. And then there's the ghost ship. The launch pad, Project 1010, a 119-meter Titan originally commissioned for Potanin himself. The yacht was under construction when international sanctions began targeting Russian elites. Instead of losing it, he quietly transferred ownership to offshore entities, and the vessel was later sold to Mark Zuckerberg for roughly $300 million. The sale revealed how Potanin plays sanctions like chess, never losing a piece, only changing positions. Collectively, these ships are worth over $800 million, each registered through a maze of offshore companies stretching from the Cayman Islands to the British Virgin Islands. They form a physical network of mobility, security, and strategy, an oceanic infrastructure that no politician can freeze or confiscate. While most billionaires keep their fortunes tethered to land, Potanin's empire sails. In a country where loyalty is currency, he doesn't need to pledge allegiance. His wealth already guarantees it. Every yacht that glides across the Mediterranean is a reminder that the richest man in Russia doesn't just own companies. He owns the freedom to disappear whenever he wants. And that, in Putin's Russia, may be the greatest luxury of all: the billionaire Air Force. When Vladimir Potanin wants to move, the world becomes his runway. The Russian billionaire, worth an estimated $24 billion, doesn't rely on commercial airports or diplomatic permissions. He commands a private aerial empire designed for speed, discretion, and survival, a network that aviation insiders call the Billionaire Air Force. While most oligarchs invest in political favors, Potanin invests in altitude. His fleet of Gulfstream jets, each valued around $60 million, forms a flying shield of independence that few governments can penetrate. At the center of his airborne arsenal is a Gulfstream G650, tail number RA-15, one of the most advanced private aircraft ever built. It can fly 7,500 nautical miles non-stop, connecting Moscow to New York, Hong Kong, or Cape Town without refueling. Inside, 19 leather-clad seats face panoramic windows, and the cabin is pressurized to simulate an altitude of just 3,000 feet, reducing fatigue and keeping passengers alert during marathon flights. Its communications suite rivals that of a government command center: encrypted satellite calls, high-speed broadband, and real-time global navigation systems. For Potanin, it's not a jet, it's a mobile office, a sanctuary, and an escape plan. But one jet is never enough for a man who doesn't like to be traced. Potanin also owns multiple Gulfstream G550S, registered through shell entities in Austria and Russia under names like Interos and Global Jet Austria. These registrations allow him to legally obscure ownership, maintain separate tax jurisdictions, and charter the aircraft to clients when not in use. The income generated through these charters reportedly brings in several $1 million per year, turning luxury into liquidity. Each aircraft is strategically positioned for different purposes. One remains based in Moscow's Vnukovo airport, used for domestic and high-level political travel. Another is stationed in Vienna, providing access to Europe's financial hubs. And a third operates between Baku, Istanbul, and Minsk, cities that serve as neutral meeting grounds during geopolitical turbulence. These routes are no coincidence. They mirror the arteries of Potanin's global empire, connecting his industrial assets in Russia to his investments and banking relationships abroad. What sets his fleet apart is not its size, but its design for jurisdictional freedom. Every aircraft is owned by a different legal entity, insured under different regimes, and maintained by separate operators. This makes it nearly impossible for sanctions or asset freezes to ground his mobility. Even when Western governments targeted Russian aviation assets after 2022, Potanin's jets kept flying. Registered just far enough outside Russian control to remain legal, yet close enough to serve his interests. Inside, the aircraft interiors are a study in discreet opulence. The G650's cabin is lined with hand-stitched Italian leather, walnut veneer panels, and climate-controlled wine storage. His G550S feature built-in boardroom tables, private sleeping quarters, and biometric access to secure storage compartments rumored to hold confidential documents and precious artifacts. Maintenance crews are sworn to secrecy through non-disclosure agreements and international contracts. For Potanin, air travel is not a convenience, it's a geopolitical strategy. The ability to move between jurisdictions in hours allows him to negotiate billion-dollar deals, oversee his mining empire, or meet global financiers without relying on any single nation's approval. The skies are his territory, the clouds his camouflage. Even as other oligarchs had their aircraft grounded or seized, Potanin's fleet continued crossing borders freely, a quiet symbol of his defiance and design. To him, flight represents something deeper than luxury. It's control. Because when you can leave any country at will, you're never truly owned by it. And if you think his jets are impressive, wait until you see where he lands them, on airstrips that lead not just to business meetings but to some of the most expensive real estate and private resorts ever built. Stay tuned, because what comes next shows how Potanin turned altitude into empire, real estate power, and the fortress strategy. In a country where wealth can vanish overnight, Vladimir Potanin built something that doesn't move, his fortress of immovable power. While his yachts glide through international waters and his jets circle global airspace, his real estate empire stands like an anchor to his legacy. Each property, each acre, each skyline view is not just luxury, it's leverage. Together they form a portfolio worth well over $3 billion, a network of assets designed as much for protection as for pleasure. In Moscow, Potanin's presence begins on Ostozhenka Street, the so-called Golden Mile, where his multi-level penthouse offers a panoramic view of the Kremlin. The property, valued at nearly $50 million, features private underground parking and a security system that rivals presidential standards. The interiors are said to include museum-grade artwork, hand-carved oak libraries, and Italian marble flown in by private cargo jet. Nearby, he controls a series of commercial buildings housing investment offices and subsidiaries of Interos, his main holding company, generating tens of millions annually in rent. Beyond Moscow, his global footprint stretches to London's Kensington Palace Gardens, where he reportedly owns a residence valued close to $60 million, complete with bullet-resistant windows and a climate-controlled wine cellar. Across the Atlantic in New York City, Potanin maintains an apartment overlooking Central Park, estimated at $90 million, registered under a limited liability company to separate ownership from potential sanctions exposure. The property is less a home and more a vault, a place where assets are shielded by American property law, the most protective system money can buy. In the south of France, Potanin's villa in Cap Ferrat rises over the Mediterranean with manicured gardens, private beach access, and an infinity pool carved into the cliffside. The estate, reportedly worth $70 million, sits just minutes from Monaco, his true sanctuary. In Monaco, he owns multiple holdings under various shell companies, including penthouses near Monte Carlo's Casino Square and shares in hotel developments that cater exclusively to ultra-high net worth clientele. The Principality's zero-income tax regime and strict privacy laws make it the perfect jurisdiction for preserving generational wealth, immune to Russia's volatile politics. But Potanin's real estate crown jewel is not in Europe or America, it's in the mountains of Sochi. In 2003, after a ski trip with Vladimir Putin, he began developing the Rosa Kotor Resort, a project that would redefine luxury infrastructure in post-Soviet Russia. Built over a decade, the ski complex cost $2.5 billion and now spans more than 1,500 acres of slopes, hotels, and chalets. It hosted major events during the 2014 Winter Olympics, turning a once remote valley into a thriving tourism economy. Potanin didn't just build hotels, he built an ecosystem, complete with energy systems, cable cars, and a private security network. The resort's annual revenue now exceeds $100 million, and its real value lies in its symbolism, a billionaire's ability to build a national monument without surrendering ownership to the state. For Potanin, real estate is more than wealth, it's geography as strategy. Each property exists within a different jurisdiction, under separate legal entities, forming a global firewall against political uncertainty. From the icy peaks of Sochi to the marble penthouses of Manhattan, his empire is designed to survive any political storm. And in a nation where power often lives on borrowed land, Potanin made sure his was built on rock, both literally and legally. Art, culture, and soft power, diplomacy. For most billionaires, art is decoration. For Vladimir Potanin, it's diplomacy. In a nation where loyalty can be bought but reputation must be built, Potanin mastered the art of influence without politics. His empire doesn't end with nickel mines or skyscrapers, it extends into museums, universities, and galleries across continents. Through his foundation and personal endowments, he's turned culture into currency, using philanthropy as armor in a country where wealth often attracts danger. Potanin's passion for art isn't casual, it's calculated. Since 2003, he has served as chairman of the board of trustees at the State Hermitage Museum, Russia's most prestigious cultural institution. Under his patronage, the museum launched the Grand Hermitage Project, an expansion worth nearly $100 million, doubling its exhibition capacity and digitizing millions of works for global access. It wasn't just preservation, it was projection. Every new gallery or restoration carried Potanin's name into the fabric of Russian history, linking his fortune to national pride. But his ambitions reach far beyond St. Petersburg. In 2016, Potanin donated over 250 artworks, valued at tens of millions of dollars, to France's Centre Pompidou, one of Europe's most revered modern art museums. The collection included pieces from Russian avant-garde masters such as Kazimir Malevich and Wassily Kandinsky. effectively exporting a piece of Russia's soul under his personal banner. The gesture was both cultural diplomacy and strategic branding. By placing his name inside French archives, he secured a level of international respect no Kremlin decree could erase. His influence expanded further when he became a trustee at the Guggenheim Museum in New York, an honor reserved for a global elite of collectors and patrons. His foundation co-financed several Guggenheim exhibitions focusing on Russian modernism, integrating his country's artistic legacy into Western narratives. Even after stepping down in 2022, amid geopolitical tensions, the network he built in global art circles remains one of his most valuable assets, connections that transcend borders, politics, and sanctions. At home, he built the Museum Without Borders initiative, a program linking Russian regional museums with institutions abroad. Through it, thousands of works have traveled to exhibitions in London, Paris, and Tokyo, reinforcing Potanin's image as the man who globalized Russian culture. His philanthropy isn't limited to galleries. His Interos Foundation funds education, heritage preservation, and public art installations, with an annual budget reportedly exceeding $50 million. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, Potanin redirected 1 billion rubles, around $13 million, toward non-profit relief programs, supplying medical facilities and cultural workers across Russia. While other oligarchs focused on protecting offshore accounts, he protected his domestic reputation. In the eyes of the public, he wasn't just a tycoon, he was a benefactor. Every donation, every exhibition, every gallery opening carries a message. Potanin is more than a businessman. His investments in art and culture create soft power, a shield built from beauty and benevolence. They provide legitimacy that money alone cannot buy, and protection that politics alone cannot ensure. In a system where billionaires can disappear overnight, Potanin chose visibility as his safeguard. His name is etched not only on stock certificates and shipping manifests, but on museum walls from St. Petersburg to Paris. Through art, he achieved what even political power struggles to secure: immortality disguised as generosity. Defying Putin, the politics of untouchable wealth. In a country where speaking against the Kremlin can erase decades of power, Vladimir Potanin did the unthinkable. In March 2022, as sanctions hit Russia's richest men, Potanin openly criticized Vladimir Putin's policies, warning that seizing foreign assets was a return to 1917, a direct reference to the Bolshevik Revolution. His words were bold, almost reckless. Yet while other billionaires were stripped of fortunes and freedom, Potanin remained untouched. No raids, no exile, no retribution. In a system built on fear, that kind of immunity means only one thing: he isn't just wealthy. He's essential. At the core of that protection is Norilsk nickel, his crown jewel, producing nearly half of the world's nickel and palladium, the metals that make electric vehicles, aircraft, and high-tech weapons possible. The company's revenues exceed $20 billion annually, forming a backbone of Russia's export economy. Every ton of metal that leaves his Siberian plants strengthens both his influence and the Kremlin's treasury. Potanin's control over this lifeline makes him impossible to replace, and Putin knows it. Remove Potanin, and Russia loses one of its last globally competitive industries. When sanctions hit in 2022, Potanin didn't react like a victim. He diversified faster than any other oligarch, moving his holding structures through offshore entities, splitting ownership among shell companies in Luxembourg and Cyprus. His aircraft, yachts, and real estate, each registered under unique jurisdictions, became a fortress of legal protection. Even Western regulators couldn't freeze what they couldn't trace. At the same time, he invested $17 billion into Norilsk's environmental modernization, pledging a 75% reduction in emissions by 2023. What looked like compliance was, in fact, strategy. He was future-proofing his empire in a world that punishes pollution but rewards sustainability. Potanin's relationship with Putin has always been a study in mutual necessity, not submission. He's close enough to maintain favor, yet distant enough to act independently. Unlike other oligarchs who tried to challenge the Kremlin head-on, men like Boris Berezovsky, who died in exile, Potanin never fights the system, he simply outlasts it. His wealth isn't tied to Moscow alone, it's scattered across continents, from luxury properties in Asia or from Monaco to corporate partnerships in Asia. His power doesn't depend on politics, it depends on access, leverage, and timing. Internationally, Potanin shields himself through culture and diplomacy. He holds France's Legion of Honor and the Order of Arts and Letters, awards that signal to the West that he's not just a businessman, but a cultural benefactor. Those honors make him harder to target. After all, sanctioning a man recognized for global philanthropy creates more political tension than it solves. What sets Potanin apart isn't just his fortune, it's his design. Every part of his empire serves a dual purpose: profit and protection. His companies keep Russia's economy afloat, his assets are distributed across legal borders, and his image as a philanthropist gives him international cover. He doesn't rule through loyalty or fear, he rules through necessity. In today's Russia, where billionaires answer to power, Potanin did something far more dangerous. He became part of it. So, what do you think? Is Potanin a loyal strategist, or has he quietly outplayed Putin himself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What happens behind closed doors between Putin and his billionaires often stays hidden. But Trump's reaction exposed just how intertwined wealth and power have become. From private jets to empires worth billions, the man in question represents the kind of influence that even the Kremlin can't fully contain. If you found this glimpse into power and politics fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2, where we'll reveal how this secret alliance could reshape global wealth and leadership as we know it.